Matt Lopresti there talking with me last hour. And like you said, the big question now, if something like that happens again, will people actually believe it? So let's talk with that. With me now is forensic psychiatrist and terrorism expert, Dr. Carole Lieberman. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.
So it's sort of like the boy who cried wolf, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I think the government isn't really taking this seriously enough in terms of the psychological damage that this has really done to people. Boy who cried wolf, but also there's going to be a lot of PTSD, a lot of people, especially the children, you know, who were huddled in the bathtub and said, is this a war? And he said, yes. I mean, you know, that's going to be a memory that haunts them for the rest of their life. And so people, especially people who were around for Pearl Harbor, people, of course, you know, 9/11, the Cold War, veterans, people who already have some degree of PTSD are going to be affected even more. And then there's a lot of anger. And, you know, I think that the man who pushed the wrong button, it's like they're saying, oops, you know, we've made a little mistake, oops, and it's having a lot more fallout than that. But I think that the man who pushed the button, the wrong button, should be fired, not just reassigned to the same emergency department, or at the very least reassigned to something that has nothing to do with the emergency department. Because in addition to being afraid, anxious, fearful, etc., and distrustful of the government and so on, people are really angry, rightly angry, and they are going to turn that anger in towards themselves, stuff it down, and that causes depression. So I think at least if they had some sense that the people were taking them seriously, recognizing just the depth of the psychological damage that was done.
Well, I think here's the other thing, like we always hear about North Korea and its nukes, right? And we talk about it, but I don't think most Americans think it's really a threat. I think what this exercise demonstrated was there is this subconscious fear in us that this could actually happen.
Yes, it's a thing called cognitive dissonance. It's the same thing with terrorism in terms of what we usually think of in terms of terrorism. That on the one hand, we hear about this all the time, and intellectually we take it in, we know that there's this threat, but emotionally we're in denial. And so that's one of the things that this did too. It broke through the people's denial and made them realize, wow, this could really happen.
So if the alarm sounds again, will people in Hawaii believe it?
It's going to be very, you know, well, the problem is that we don't want to believe it. So they're going to want to say to themselves, oh, this is probably just a mistake. Another person pushed the wrong button. So that's the problem. Of course, you know, the one positive thing is if people really do learn from this and do learn about what to do when this happens and get prepared and have your 2 weeks of food and supplies and so on, that would be a positive thing. But, you know,
that's looking at the glass half full. I kind of like that. And if there's an alarm going off again in Hawaii, you listen. I don't care whether you believe it or not. Take cover. Thank you, Dr. Carole Lieberman. I appreciate it. The clock is